I wanted to ask you, Ashley, I mean, what was the, with the mental health that you've talked about and addiction, do you remember like a tipping point where you said, enough is enough? I need to do this? When was that?
Yeah. So I had reached a really awful place when it was September 28th, 2019. My daughter's father was deployed over in Poland for the year. It was towards the end of the deployment, but I say I was working 4 full-time jobs. I was a single mother to our daughter. I was working full time. I was in school full time, still trying to finish my degree. And I was an alcoholic full time. I use alcoholic there for the context. I don't like labels anymore, but for context purposes, I need to use it there. I had reached such an ugly place, trying to drown myself every night. Mainly, I think, I didn't know who I was. I was still living to try to impress others and have this different facade of success. I was working at a large bank as an investment trader. And it all just kind of came to a head. I ended up quitting my job because of drinking. I actually say that was one drunk decision that I don't regret doing because I
I love that. I love that.
because I was miserable. But it all kind of came to a head there, and I was self-harming at night as well on top of drinking, and I made a plan and I attempted to take my life. Luckily, unsuccessful. And I woke up and was in ICU, thankfully without organ damage or anything like that, but went inpatient. And it was here that I kind of had that aha moment.
Yeah.
Look where I found myself. This was my second inpatient hospitalization in my lifetime. The first being when I was pretty young. I was about 21, I think. So 10 years prior. And that one was for my eating disorder and some irrational suicidal thoughts and ideations. But this one, I knew that my drinking had come to such an ugly place. It had left me a shell. It had turned me into a person that I was not. And I knew that. And in the middle of inpatient, I found AA, the big book, and started reading it. And at this point, I was apprehensive about calling myself an alcoholic because I wasn't drinking every day, but my binge drinking when I was doing it. Just to give you a little perspective, I'm little, like very little. I'm only 5'2", about 105 pounds. At this point, I was about 130 pounds. But I was drinking in one sitting about 28 beers, which is a lot. I'm surprised I don't have liver damage, to be honest. But I was having a hard time admitting it to myself. But as I started reading the stories in the middle section of the big book, especially, it's for the kind of sober, curious, unsure people. I related to it hard, especially one about a single mom. I remember breaking down in tears. And it was from that moment that I was like, okay, I have to do this. And unfortunately, though, as ready as I was to be sober when I got out of inpatient, I was still surrounded in the same environment, in my apartment, alone, same friends, and same mindset. And as much as I tried to be sober, I fell back into the vicious cycle again, over and over again. I had gone to a couple AA meetings, and it was nice to relate to people that knew kind of my mindset. But from where I'm from, it was still a challenge because the generational gap in the meetings, it was like, me sitting there, a 30-year-old, and I'm sitting around a table sharing war stories with people that are 60 years old or older even.
Right.
Really, really difficult. And in that experience, there were times where I felt belittled. There were times, I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with 13 steppers. 13 steppers are people that are in seniority, sobriety, and kind of are inappropriate with those that are vulnerable. And I had that experience. And so I fell back into the drinking because I didn't want to be in AA anymore. It wasn't for me. I fell back into the drinking, and I found myself in bed in my worst depressive episode, as I am diagnosed with major depressive disorder. I felt like a failure and ashamed that I couldn't do this. And I just remember laying there feeling empty, feeling so much guilt. My daughter's father had taken her from me. So, that was kind of my only reason to live at that point. And it was here that I contemplated again and said, I have two choices. I can try again and take my life, or I can start over. And something in me, or higher than me, I still don't know at this point, said, you have to do this and get it out. That's when I wrote the breakup letter to alcohol as my first blog entry. And I posted it to my Facebook page, admitting to my family and friends that I was dealing with far more than I was letting anyone see, and reintroduced myself as Ashley, and I'm an alcoholic. Scariest moment in my life, not gonna lie. Sitting here waiting to press that little post button, but it was life or death for me. And it was the only way in my mind that I knew how I could stay accountable, because I am from a small town. So I knew that if everybody knew, if they saw me out at the bar, Ashley, what are you doing here? So that was kind of how my mindset was. And as much as I was worried about criticism, I got everything but. And from that moment, my entire life changed. And it sometimes still brings me to my knees, because the power behind vulnerability is limitless.
Absolutely.
And that's what I really try to help people see, and to help people break through that comfort zone, because once you do, it's a really magical place.
I love the fact that you have tears, but you also have a smile on your face. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very thankful. People are always like, if you could go back and change it, would you? And I say, absolutely not. I'm thankful for my depression. I'm thankful for my brain being wired a little bit differently, that I can't drink. It put me through the worst so that I could find my best. And it's a really good place.
Very cool. Very cool.